Sox in the basement.
I'm the Sox Nerd with my weekly White Sox stumper. Which White Sox player hit the final home run of his career on the 4th of July, 2014? I'll have my answer at the end of my spiel later in the pod.
And welcome into an episode of Sox in the Basement. And I'm a road warrior sitting in my hotel room right now in Louisville, Kentucky. That's where I'm at,
rough there. Sounding a little rough.
I am. I gave myself my own bourbon trail last night. My son is down here for orientation. So my actual vacation kicks off here. Then I go to the family lake cottage for the weekend. And then I head off to Disney and Universal Studios with the kids. But I left the oldest and the youngest at the lake cottage with family and took the middle guy, who's 18, Dominic, down to Louisville. He had an overnight orientation. I should see him later on today, and then we're gonna get out of here. But I had nothing to do yesterday. From the moment I dropped him off at 8 in the morning, I was up to my own devices. And I didn't even have a hotel room. Like I completely did this like I'm a man of means that is in a town knowing nobody, and I will find a place to sleep tonight. And that's kind of what.
What'd you do with the person whose hotel room you're sitting in?
Stuffed in the closet, my friend. Stuffed in the closet.
Good.
This episode of Sox in the Basement brought to you proudly by Hyatt Home Medical Equipment. Switch to a new age of life. Keep mom and dad, grandma and grandpa out of assisted living, and make it so they can get around on their own and live independently, like I'm doing this weekend. Stair lifts, ramps, grab bars, lift chairs, even bathroom remodeling. Hyatt works with your insurance. They have 0% financing for qualified individuals. If you use a CPAP machine, these things have gotten so small. They're so high tech, and there's so many different ones. Find one that's comfortable for you. Test it out in their showroom in Evergreen Park. Switch now, get supplies directly mailed to you. If you use continuous glucose monitors, they have the latest and the greatest in those as well. Learn all about Hyatt Home Medical Equipment at hhme.com. It will not be like this all the time. Like, there's a different setup for the next show. There's a different setup after that next show. For the next couple of weeks, it's going to be kind of interesting. Like right now, I'm on speaker, basically doing a Zoom because I forgot a piece of equipment. So that'll be delivered to me later today.
Yeah.
And then
spot the differences between me and Chris here.
Right. And then next episode is actually already recorded. It's a great episode about the minor league system, about the organization on the inside, and just kind of a deep dive with James Fox of Future Sox from Cork and Kerry. Okay.
Right.
And then you're going to do a show, I think, with the Sox Nerd.
Yeah, the full-on nerd show.
Yeah, and it's going to be like all this stuff that he's got great stories, but we just don't know where to put them. So we're going to have you're going to have some fun with that because the man has been in that ballpark behind the scenes for decades upon decades. So that's going to be fun as well.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be one show from Disney where I'll have the whole setup with the microphones and stuff like that.
And if we're lucky, you'll have kidnapped Goofy, and we'll do an interview with him.
Yeah, that's the guy that I was always in the Donald when I was a kid. Yeah, I was a Donald kid. I don't know why that was.
You like pantsless sailors? Is that?
I guess so. I guess that's what it is. You know,
I think it's just your natural anger issues. You related to them.
Listen, natural anger issues. I'm sitting in Rabbit Hole Distilling, which is a great rooftop bar in Louisville, and I'm early on in my self-imposed bourbon tour that I'm giving myself, like going from place to place.
I like that you make it self-imposed, as though there was, an imposition on you to do this here.
I force myself to do it.
Yeah.
And I was having they have one that's in like sherry cask that gets like finished off. There was another one that was like in French vanilla oak cask finish.
Ooh.
So I was trying the fancy ones, and a Guardians fan sat down next to me here in Louisville. Two women, middle-aged women, came in, and the one that sat right next to me was wearing her Guardians hat. And
what are the chances?
All I said is I looked there and I didn't have this hat on that I have. I didn't have my White Sox hat on. I was out for the night, right? I don't wear a hat when I'm out for the night. I was all cologned up, ready for my adventure, right? My hair is all did. And I look over at her with probably the greatest smirk. And I'm like, God, I wish I wore my White Sox hat today. And just the look of disgust on her face.
Oh, yeah.
It's like so annoyed. So annoying. First of all, that Guardian symbol is one of the stupidest ones in sports. You know, I
Yeah.
get I get why they change, right? But it's just a G, which I want to say it has wings on it or something. It's stupid. It's a stupid symbol. Okay. It's like we got to hurry up. We got to change the name. Come up with something. And it's a dumb looking hat. And then also like just the disgust because we're 2 games up at that point. As I'm sitting there looking at her, she knew it. I had that
Oh yeah.
superiority type thing going on where I was like, well, like we're better than you. And just the disgust. She looked at her friend and she was like, I can't. And they moved to a table. They moved away to a table. Drove them away in 30 seconds flat. Now I know the joke is it wasn't that common. It's because like I'm disgusting or something like that. But drove them away, immediately pointing out I was a White Sox fan. That's all I said. It's the
Yeah.
only thing
See,
I said.
when it comes to driving away women, all I usually have to do is just say hi. So at least you had to talk trash about their favorite team, which is fair. It's fair.
As we move on, there's a great little section in Louisville. It's got Rabbit Hole. It's got Whiskey Thief that's right nearby. They used to be out on a farm. There was a place, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's called the Refuge, a huge bourbon bar, like shelves upon shelves of every bourbon in Louisville and pizzas at it. I found a speakeasy called the 1933. You have to show up at the hotel desk in downtown Louisville, and you have where this place is located. You can Google it, find out where it is. But getting into it, they don't advertise it when you show up on the grounds. So I went to the hotel front desk, asked about the 1933. She makes a phone call, comes back, gives me a password, tells me I have to find it.
Oh,
Work my way into I take the elevator down the stairs, go into a room where there's just somebody standing there and the wall is fake and it opens up and you go into this place. It was really cool.
that's
So
cool.
yeah. So that and you could do all that really walking distance in the one
Which
little
is
area.
good. Which is
So
good.
yeah. Yeah. So I made my own thing up.
Staggering
The
distance.
White Sox take 2 out of 3 from the Orioles. And
The two that they took in impressive fashion too. I mean, that was those were hurtings that they put on a bad Orioles team.
well, that's what
But
they're supposed to do, but they
yeah,
don't do that on the road, you
no,
know?
no, which is it was a relief to see the offense get there, and then in Game 3, it looked like the same old road team White Sox where they're hanging in a game that they should be winning, and the bullpen eventually comes in and just absolutely fails. Too many
They seem like they
walks.
had a chip on their shoulders in the first 2 games.
Yes, they were
There
trying
was
to
like an
prove
anger,
something.
like somebody, almost as if they were tired of hearing people talk about how they suck on the road.
Right. Well, and
Like
that was the first road series that they had won since May, right? Um, snapped a was it a 9 game
first
road
weekend of
losing
May
streak?
too.
Yeah.
First weekend of May, I think it was the first through the third.
Yeah.
Is what I saw. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's they should have had a chip on their shoulder. They need to have a chip on their shoulder, and they need that chip right back going into Cleveland because the Guardians have their hackles up here. It's a little like walking into Detroit. I mean, Detroit. Yeah, they're well back in the division at this point. They're still scuffling. They're still going to have problems. But Cleveland is here to say, if we sweep, we're right back in first place. We'll swap places with you. And the Sox can't afford that. I mean they can because there's plenty of time. It's only the beginning of July, but this is an opportunity for this team if they are legitimately going to contend all year long for the division to kind of put some distance between them and the Guardians and really kind of take over this division and give themselves some padding. I mean, it's a big series, and if it's a chip on your shoulder and you all are wrong, we're going to do this, whatever the get up needs to be for them to be motivated to do this. And I'm not saying that they don't have motivation, but to really get themselves going, to get that adrenaline pumping, to really get themselves hyped up for it, whatever it is that they need to do it, and they need to do it now.
I was exchanging text messages during my bourbon tour yesterday with James Fox of Future Sox. And what we were really talking about at the beginning, where we talk about Tanner McDougal, that it looks like the team talking about him getting better and a lot of the stuff that's surrounding him, it sounds like they may be bringing him up to play in the bullpen this year.
Okay.
Okay. Steve Stone was speculating about his role during the broadcast. Fox picked up on that. He's like, he looks like he's going to be healthy very soon, and they can get him into the majors, into relief. And what he basically said was he'll be fire out of the bullpen. He's just so good. He actually called him a fire-breathing dragon. That's what he's like. That's what you're bringing up here.
Ooh,
Like
I
if you
like
want
that.
bullpen help, yes, he's going to be a starter long term, but you could have a fire-breathing dragon coming out of your bullpen very soon in Tanner McDougal. And I'm excited about that. And I actually then the conversation continued, and I was like, man, if they split against the Guardians here, if taking 2 out of 3 from the Orioles, I don't think you could convince me, even on my worst day, when they're losing, if they when they have the inevitable losing streak in the dog days of summer, right, and things aren't going good, it'll be very hard to convince me they're not going to the postseason. Like, I mean, think
Yes.
about what we've gone through here. They had a winning record in June, and I laughed that like my best hope for them in the month of June was like a couple games under 500 because that schedule was brutal in June, and they had a winning record in June. And now, if they're starting to figure out the road thing, I mean, we talked about it before they started off this road series. Like, what if they just take 2 out of 3 from the Orioles and can split with the Guardians? And we were like, we'll be ecstatic with that. And honestly, goodness, if they just find a way to split this 4-game series over the Fourth of July weekend,
Yeah.
you're going to have a hard time not believing. You're going to have a hard time convincing me this is not a postseason team. And to be honest with you, if anybody's picking against them after, if they can just split on the road against the Guardians, if anybody's picking against them afterwards for the division, I think they're nuts. That's the thing with the Guardians. Guardians need to win 3 out of 4 against the White Sox. They
Yeah. The
need to.
Guardians have to take the series.
They cannot just let the White Sox come in and get 2 of them. So the Sox have all the advantage. And hopefully, Will Venable's telling his young team, look, all the pressure's on those guys. Go in, play loose, play with your hair on fire, though. I want to see Antonacci doing crazy Antonacci things. But go out there and play loose because you are in complete control at this point. All the pressure sits on them. They're using all the excuses in the book. Oh, our third baseman's injured. Like we don't have any injuries. They're going to be fired up. It's going to be one of those series where I think there's going to be some back and forth yelling. I guarantee it. I think you're going to see an edge to both of these teams, but the pressure is all on Cleveland, and the White Sox just need to understand that if they can take 2, that's all they need to do. I mean, imagine if they took more than that. Start printing the tickets for the postseason. I'll be that bold to say that. For exterior windows, doors, patio doors, and storm doors, look no further than Window and Door Superstore of Oak Forest. No high pressure sales, not in your kitchen. You are in their showroom with full examples right there for you to check out. Glass designs, doorknobs, all the little hinges, any little thing that you want, you could see it right there. No pictures in a book. There's an owner there answering all of your questions. There's also one on site overseeing their own installers. They never farm out the work. They've been doing it that way in Oak Forest since 1985 with all major brands custom made and no stock items for a perfect fit. Window and Door Superstore of Oak Forest is a half block east of 159th and Ridgeland at 6280 159th Street. See more at windowdooroakforest.com.
You know what I hope when Will Venable is telling the pitching staff, to pick up on the pressure that you were talking about. I imagine a fairly young Guardians team, they're going to go up trying to hit 4-run homers every time they're at the plate, at least to start the series. And what I really hope is being conveyed to the pitching staff is you've got to challenge them. Don't pitch around them. Don't nibble. Don't be stupid. Don't put it down the middle. But I mean, just sit there and treat them like they are going to not be able to touch you, because those guys are going to be super hyped up. And I think what happens with the Sox pitching is I see one of 2 things. Yesterday, as we're recording, the third game of that Orioles series, the thing that killed them was walks. They just kept walking guys and just putting guys on base. And they're nibbling, and then they're missing in the middle when they're missing. And it's something that I feel like has to be mental, because we've already discounted the whole mound thing that the home mound is better. So that's my hope. My hope is that the pitching staff is starting to understand that as the White Sox come through, teams are now under pressure to prove themselves against the Sox versus the Sox having to be perfect to prove themselves against these road teams. And in the Guardian series, I would absolutely, if I was going onto the mound, I would be thinking these guys are in trouble because they are under a ton of pressure at home to beat me and beat my brains in and make a statement. And they're all going to be trying to do way too much with the bat. And so if I make good, solid pitches, they are going to be swinging out of their shoes. They're going to roll over on changeups. They're going to roll over on off speed stuff. They're going to miss bad on good breaking pitches. But if you hang them and if you throw fastballs down the middle and they connect, it's going to go a long way. So, you know, the pressure on the Guardians, the pressure on the rest of the division, quite frankly, at some point, if the White Sox can keep this up, and all they have to do is just take, 4-3 road series, in 7 games, or split road series from here on out, and play well at home the way they've been doing, I think the pressure is going to start to get to the Tigers and the Guardians more so, and they have an opportunity to mentally crumble, especially if the Tigers start selling off.
The key to the whole series is the game that happened last night. For those that are watching, for us, we're recording beforehand because I got to get out of this hotel room and get on the road. But you got Davis Martin against Slade Ciccone, and Cicone's been terrible this year. Puts
Right.
way too many people on base. He's not been very effective. He's got an ERA over 4. You've got your best pitcher going out there. He does have trouble sometimes on the road. If they won game 1 by the time this episode came out, they're taking the split in this series. If they lost game 1, they still, I'm sorry, this Guardian staff does not scare me. Hopefully that was the kick in the pants for them to say, okay, we got to find a way to win 2 out of the next 3 games. And I still think that they could end up splitting the series, no matter what the result was on Thursday night. But man, if by the time you're watching this episode of Sox in the Basement, they already took the first episode, or not the first episode, the first game, the first game of the series. Okay, I think we're in really good shape. I'm looking up as we're talking here. I'm looking up Ben Peoples' statistics, and
And
I'm
I'm
still trying to
I'm
figure out
looking up Ben Hartle's statistics, the guy
why,
they
why
traded him
did you
for.
trade this guy? Like, here's the thing.
I don't get it.
I don't know if anybody's given like real solid insight into this, but we're talking about a guy who's 25 years old, whose whip was 1.008. He had a 239 earn run average down in the minor leagues
In
over
Charlotte,
37
in a hitter's paradise in
right
Charlotte.
in 37 and 2/3 innings. Over 2 seasons in AAA, his whip was 1.17 with an ERA under 3. His 1 season in AA, he had a 1.157 whip. The guy keeps guys off bases, was an effective reliever, had shown over time that he could be an effective reliever. You have problems in your bullpen. And I don't know who he insulted or what they're seeing, but you deal him for a catcher in maybe the most perplexing move that I've seen Chris Getz make in a long time. Like,
And that,
what am I not getting about Ben Peoples? What am I not getting about Ben Hartle, the catcher that they picked up when you have so many catchers? What am I not getting about this trade? Because it perplexed me. I read about it and then I poured over the numbers and I said, I don't understand this. And
yeah.
I've asked people about it and I'm getting like silence because nobody wants to say their opinion on it because I don't think anybody can figure it out.
Well, it's hard to have an opinion on something when you're just perplexed by it. And yeah, you have a bullpen that's clearly struggling. Uh, you have a guy that seems to be a viable pitcher and is doing well, like I said, in a hitter's environment down in Charlotte. And what you trade him for is a catcher who's in high A and is doing okay at that level. He's 23. He's not exactly, I mean, it's not
It's
like
not like
he's
you grab a 19-year-old phenom, like a guy with all,
right.
he's 23 years old and single A.
Yeah. And his career numbers in the minors are not spectacular. He's a 248 hitter with a 716 OPS. I mean, he might be a very good defensive catcher. I don't know. I don't know enough about him because he's kind of not a prospect. But what purpose does it serve for a team that's on the verge of, like we just talked about, a postseason berth, and trading away, even if Peoples isn't an answer necessarily, he's still depth, right? And you're a couple of injuries away from needing that depth. And Ben Hartle does not provide you anything to this team going forward. May not provide you anything organizationally other than, somebody to be a backstop there, which if there's another move coming that involves one of the many catchers that the White Sox have in the minor league system. And this is a setup for that. I mean, I guess that remains to be seen. That's the only thing that logically ever came to my mind was, well, at some point, maybe Corey Lee gets moved because he's doing nothing
Well,
for
even
himself
if
or the
even if you
organization
move
at
them
AAA.
though, even if you move them, what it feels like there's still so many catchers that you could use. This isn't like you went out
Oh,
and got somebody who
100%.
is projected all of a sudden to be making your major league roster who you picked up. And again, I just don't understand it. You've been trying so hard to find the right combination in your bullpen, and you never gave this guy a look in the majors. And it seems to me like we've brought him up several times on the show, and I've asked about him when we have a prospect guest on the show. And it's always like, oh yeah, he could be up here. I mean, he's pitching really well.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that since this trade has happened, people have been very confused as to why that trade happened. It's a minor trade. Understand this. It's not something that suddenly makes you feel like the team is not going to win this year. But
No, no,
it's a trade that I can't find logic behind.
no.
Maybe I understand it in a couple of years. Maybe I'm sitting here, Ben Harnell's up here, and he's hitting 40 home runs a year because they had this one thing that they saw in the film. Like they were breaking it down, like one of those scenes in Moneyball, like when they're looking at Kevin Youkilis and talking about him being the Greek god of walks, and like one of the assistant GMs or some guy that they have in there pulls Getsy into the room and goes, "Okay, see this guy? All we got to do is change this thing right here. It's 50 home runs a year. He's Cal Raleigh, you know?"
Well, he's got 5 in 128 minor league games so far, so I'm not going to count
No, no,
on
no. I
that
mean,
one.
I'm saying he's not good now,
No.
but like they know exactly what they have to. That's the only thing I can come up with. That's it. That's all
Yeah,
I can come.
or if we see Ben Peoples get into the Rangers bullpen and immediately just get lit up because what he's got plays well in Charlotte, but it does not play well against major league hitting. And the Sox knew that and took advantage of it and found a guy that, like you said, maybe they see
Right.
something in him.
If their own scouts look and say he's a great minor league pitcher who's going to get lit up when he gets to the majors, and we know
Yeah.
we could never use him, but that and so let's just get another piece that we think we can use. I mean, that's the only explanation to it. But to me, outsider looking in, probably the majority of people listening to or watching this episode, looking in at this. It's a perplexing trade. It kind of threw me a little bit. I was surprised by it, and every time I read about it or read something more about it, I cannot crack the code as to what was going on behind that deal.
No.
Moose Vinyl is an application for record collectors to manage their record collections, buy and sell records. I'm starting to see a lot of social media, a lot of reels, a lot of companies trying to put this together. But Moose Vinyl, when you search them up, when you look at comparisons across the industry, they have the newest, most streamlined app for collectors. It allows importing CSV files from all those other platforms so you can continue to manage your collection, but now you have the best user interface around. It is available on iPhone, coming to Android very soon. They also have a brand new brick and mortar record store for you to experience. Not brand new, actually. B-Side Records had been in Lamont for a while. They went in, modernized it a little bit. Every time I go by that place, it is packed. It is a record collector's mecca, and people really enjoy B-Sides by Moose Vinyl in Lamont downtown at 238 Main Street, where they are selling turntables and vintage audio equipment at a discount through the month of July. Check them out today. Grab the Moose Vinyl app on your iPhone. So, as we kind of get towards the back end of the show, Sox Nerd's going to be on here in just a moment. Um, I think I think the thing that I have felt the best about so far on my trip, and I think I'm going to feel this way all throughout the time that I'm traveling around this country over the next couple of weeks. I love being a White Sox fan. Like, I love wearing the hat. I love having a stranger walk up and say, wow, they're pretty good this year, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Like, it happened multiple times yesterday where I talk to strangers. You know this about me. Like,
Yes.
you're
Yes.
raised to not talk to strangers. I love to talk to strangers. I was helping some guy on his hinge
So
date
many
yesterday.
windowless white vans that Chris has
Right.
gotten into in his life.
So I was at the bar yesterday. This is a funny story. I'm at this bar yesterday, this bourbon bar. It's got like towering like stacks and shelves of bourbon. And I'm getting myself a pizza because I got to put food in my stomach because I'm touring around places. If I don't eat, I'm gonna die. So I'm sitting at the bar by myself and I'm listening to a date going on next to me. And it's one of those first dates on the dating app date.
Ah,
Yeah. Oh God, it was amazing.
You know
It was
those
amazing.
well.
Oh God, they're the worst. And like she's one of those. She's one, and it's very common on these kind of dates, especially at middle age, right? Like when you're younger and you date, it's all about like attraction, right?
Oh
You're
yeah.
figuring it out as you go along, but you're enjoying the date. When you're older, and this has happened to me a lot. I'm sure somebody will think that I'm being mean about this. Um, Middle-aged women are exhausted by this point. They're like, I know what I want. And I have 47 different questions that I'm going to ask on the first date, and I need 47 correct answers. If you get a 46 out of 47, you're probably not getting the next date. And
Right.
she's going through her list, right? She's asking, I'm listening to this as I'm sitting there. I'm talking to the bartender, and he's laughing about it. She's trying to figure out his income. She's trying to figure out his dating history. She's every single thing she can ask. She's in the question like 36 or something like that. She asked something, I can't remember what it was. I actually chuckled and I looked at him and the guy was looking right at me. And I'm like, dating app date? And he starts laughing. So he stops talking or he starts laughing. And I looked at her and I'm like, you have every question, don't you? And she's like, yeah, I need to ask all these questions. And I'm like, and this is like every one of these dating app dates, right? And the guy starts laughing. Before it was over, I had the two of them laughing so hard that like suddenly they weren't sitting apart from each other. He had his arm around her. She had his hand on his leg. I was like Cupid there. I was like helping out,
There you go.
right? It
Yeah.
was this very stiff, like almost job interview. And after about 20 minutes, I felt like there was a love connection going on. I was pretty proud of myself.
Well, there you go.
Ate a pizza, had a bourbon, helped out with a love connection. Guy shakes my hand, leans in and goes, "Thank you so much for all that," because he knew I had helped, right?
And that's
But
the power of Mike Vassal's magic wand
that's what I was. I
as a
was the
White Sox fan.
I was the Mike Vassal of that date.
Yes.
That's what I was. I was the Mike Vassal of that date. I was helping that date along. But I had other interactions throughout the day um, where I would mention that I was from Chicago, and somebody would immediately go, "Man, a White Sox team is good."
Yeah.
And during the day before I went out, I was kind of exploring Louisville, and I had the hat on, and I got stopped twice, just for somebody who wasn't even a White Sox fan, but knows that the team is good, knows that they're a surprise of Major League Baseball. If you leave Chicago and people know that you're from Chicago. I mean, when people ask where I'm from, I go Chicago, but I always go South Side. I want it known that that's where I'm from. I've
Right.
always been that way. Okay, I just go South Side. And when I lived in the city for most of my life, I'd be actual city. Like I like talking about that. But the fact that they're like White Sox, such a great team. Did you see the game the other night? Man, that guy, they'll bring up a player. Antonacci got mentioned to me. Like
Oh yeah.
people know who he is. It's amazing to me. Like, I mean, right now we're living in this bubble of just this excitement on the South Side where we're seeing a stadium that's getting over 20,000, I think, averaging right now. Like we're starting to get like the big crowds and there's such a buzz and everything else like that. But outside of the city, when you travel, everybody's noticing. And I think that's the best thing. I think that's why that person had to switch seats and move away from me in the Guardians hat because
Oh
as
yeah.
much she knew,
Yeah.
she
Because she
knew.
knew. She
She
knew.
couldn't even have a conversation with me. If we were going to talk baseball, she was going to walk away frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly because uh, when I was a lot of my physical therapy and stuff has been right around when we've recorded, right? So a lot of times I'm wearing a White Sox shirt or sometimes I'll throw on a hat or something like that. And where I live in the northwest suburbs, there's a lot of Cubs fans, as you can imagine. And what would end up happening is I'd have these old hat, because first of all, I'm the youngest guy in physical therapy by a mile, but I'd have all these very old Cubs fans sitting in there and they'd be wearing the Cubs shirt and they'd look at me and they go, man, you guys are good. What happened? How did that happen? And I'm like, hey, there's a lot of, it's a lot of young talent. And they'd sit there and they'd nod because they know they've seen Cubs teams that are like this. And then I'd have to try and say something nice about the Cubs, but there was periods of time where I couldn't, and they're like, yeah, it's like, oh,
PC is not a bad player, except for
PC's
when he
pretty
loses
good.
his mind and does weird things and forgets how to catch a ball for a week. But I mean, generally, like you're
Yeah.
trying to find something, right?
Yeah. Nico Horner's a good player. I like that
Right.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although he's fallen off of my fantasy team, he's kind of
I
killing me.
know. I know.
Yeah.
Well,
He's
there's
kind of killing me.
I sense from Cubs fans, there's a lot of that going on the north side.
Best thing
come
I
back.
saw on Twitter yesterday while I'm sitting there on my phone, Waddle and Sylvie, and that Twitter account is run by Sylvie because we've talked to him before
Yeah.
and try to put out the top 10, like his rankings, their rankings of the top 10 baseball players in Chicago right now. And it was like, as a Cub fan, he had to put PCA first. And then I think I want to say the next 4 or 5 names were all White Sox players.
Right.
Like he had to, the majority of the list were White Sox players.
Yeah.
Okay. But it had to throw the Cub guy at the top because his fandom took over there. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Yeah.
his fandom took over in his list, but then had to grudgingly, like, had to actually admit in his list that the vast majority of the top 10 players were on the South Side.
Yeah, the celebrations of Dansby Swanson getting 8 RBIs in a blowout game, it was like, such a relief. And then we're sitting there like, yeah, Colson Montgomery's still better.
Right. We won
I mean,
22-1 last week in a game. Everybody
right.
calm down up there.
Yeah.
You talk about pressure with the Guardians. You want to know how the Guardians feel right now? Look at Cubs fans.
Right.
Because they're feeling an incredible amount of pressure.
Yeah. You look to
Just
right
to
and
get to the
left.
playoffs.
If you see a Cubs fan, they're basically from Cleveland right now.
That music means the Sox Nerd. Dave Marin is on the line with his tidbits and trivia nuggets, and he puts them on the scoreboard at the rate. He gives them to us each and every week here on Sox in the Basement. Next week, full show with Ed, because I'll be on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad or something like that. Won't be able to record a week from today. Want to experience a downtown's real history, great eats and drinks, and green spaces filled with adventure? Visit the village of Lamont. Shop, dine, drink, explore the Sox Nerd. Brought to you by the Village of Lamont. See everything they have going on this weekend and beyond at lamontdowntown.com. Nerd, what do you got for us?
Fellas, here's a look at the White Sox and the 4th of July Sox Nerd style. The Sox will be at Cleveland this Independence Day, and that's a good thing because the good guys have quite a history on the 4th with the Guardians/Indians. The Sox' first 4th of July game was an 8-2 loss in the first game of a doubleheader in Cleveland in their inaugural season of 1901. The Sox lost the nightcap 6-5. The Sox' first Independence Day conquest was a 10-2 win over Cleveland at Southside Park in the first game of a doubleheader in 1902. The Sox took the second game 3-2 thanks to a Sandow Murtis walk-off triple. The Sox' biggest output on the holiday came in 1979 in Cleveland when Claudell Washington, hey Washington, that's fitting, homered as part of a 16-4 win. It's hard to imagine a player having a better 4th of July than the one Wayne Nordhagen fashioned in that game. Celebrating his 31st birthday, the native of Thief River Falls, Minnesota, clubbed the Sox' first 4th of July Grand Slam and doubled in the rout. 2 years after that pasting, Britt Burns fired the White Sox last complete game shutout on Independence Day in a 5-0 win at Cleveland. The Sox' last game against Cleveland on July 4th was a 7-4 loss in Ohio in 2024. The Sox' last win in Cleveland on the 4th was a 6-5 triumph in 1996 thanks to a Tony Phillips sac fly in the 10th. Some more Sox 4th of July nuggets. The White Sox are 102-83 for a .551 winning percentage on Independence Day. The Sox have played on every July 4th since 1901 except for 1981 because of a strike and 2020 because of COVID. Oscar Gamble hit the Sox' first indoor home run on July 4th, 1977 at the Kingdome in Seattle. The blast came in the White Sox' first game and win under glass in a 6-2 triumph of the Mariners. July 4th doubleheaders, like every other doubleheader, are a thing of the past, but they used to be a staple. In fact, the Sox played a doubleheader on the 4th of July each season from 1927 to 1963. The last of the Sox' 61 Independence Day doubleheaders was a bicentennial split with Texas at Comiskey Park. And one recent but special 4th of July memory. Last year, Colson Montgomery made his Major League debut on the 4th of July in Colorado. And while he didn't do anything spectacular offensively, he made a one-handed tumbling catch in short left on his second big league chance. That gem wound up as that night's top play on SportsCenter, and when ESPN starts recognizing the White Sox, we definitely are onto something. And then, if I can go off book again, from my perch at the rate, I get a unique perspective of the game. Last week, I flowed about Colson Montgomery's performance at third base. This week, it's Jacob Gonzalez at first base. While he had just 6 minor league games at the position, he looked comfortable at first base for the Sox from the get-go. Maybe it's just from decades upon decades of watching big galoots at first, but I have rarely seen a player handle the position with as much athleticism as Gonzalez displays. And while he is still learning the nuances of the position, I am certain that will come with experience. Just goes to show you can never go wrong drafting a shortstop. Before I get to my stumper answer and zinger, I remind you gems like these and more can be found on my WordPress blog, which you can find at soxinthebasement.com. I am also on X, Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. My stumper answer? I asked who hit his last Major League homer for the Sox on the 4th of July 2014, and it was Paul Konerko. My zinger? Speaking of 4th of July homers, Jose Abreu at 4 is the Sox all-time leader in that category. That's it, fellas. Probably more than you wanted to know about the Sox and America's birthday, Oscar Gamble, and my perspective.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on soxinthebasement.com.